There is someone who has been carrying a secret in silence, a confession they have rehearsed 1,000 times but never dared to speak. Because the truth is this: you touched a part of them that no one else ever could, and tonight you're about to discover why they chose you. Most people move through life wearing carefully constructed masks. They learn very early that certain emotions are acceptable while others are not. They hide their fears behind confidence, their sadness behind smiles, and their insecurities behind achievements. Over time, these masks become so familiar that many individuals no longer recognize where the pansperry ends and the true self begins. Yet, every human being carries a silent longing to be seen, not for the image they present to the world, but for who they truly are beneath all the defenses. This is where your connection with this person became different. Without fully realizing it, you saw something in them that others overlooked. While many people admired their strengths, you sensed their hidden struggles. While others accepted the version they displayed, you instinctively recognized the emotions they were trying so hard to conceal. Perhaps you noticed the sadness behind their laughter, the exhaustion behind their constant efforts to appear strong, or the loneliness hidden beneath their independence. You were able to perceive what they themselves had spent years trying to ignore. This experience can be deeply unsettling. When someone sees us beyond our carefully maintained image, it creates both relief and fear. Relief, because at last there is no need to pretend. Fear, because genuine visibility makes vulnerability unavoidable. Suddenly, all the protective walls that once felt necessary begin to weaken. For this person, your presence created precisely this conflict. Around you, maintaining old defenses became increasingly difficult. They may have found themselves revealing personal thoughts they rarely shared with anyone else. They may have spoken about painful experiences, forgotten dreams, or private fears without fully understanding why they felt safe enough to do so. In your presence, something within them recognized acceptance. What made this especially powerful was that your understanding was not based solely on words. Often the deepest recognition occurs in silence. It exists in the way you listened without judgment, in your patience during their moments of withdrawal, or in your ability to sense when something was wrong even when they insisted they were fine. These seemingly small moments communicated a profound message. You do not have to perform here. You are allowed to simply be. Such acceptance can feel almost unfamiliar to individuals who have spent much of their lives earning love through achievement, pleasing others, or hiding their imperfections. When they encountered someone who valued them without demanding perfection, they experienced something rare. They felt emotionally safe, and emotional safety is extraordinarily powerful. Human beings naturally become attached to those who allow them to remove their masks without fear of rejection. This is why they chose you, not because you were flawless, but because in your presence, they felt free to become authentic. You saw the parts they hid from everyone else, and instead of turning away, you stayed. That is a gift few people ever receive, and once experienced, it is almost impossible to forget. When someone feels truly seen, something extraordinary begins to happen within them. The parts of themselves that were once hidden, neglected, or abandoned slowly start to awaken. Many people move through life disconnected from who they genuinely are. Disappointments, betrayals, societal expectations, and painful experiences often force individuals to suppress certain aspects of themselves simply to survive. Over time, these forgotten pieces remain buried deep within the unconscious, waiting for the right circumstances to emerge again. Your presence became one of those rare circumstances. Without intending to, you stirred something within this person that had been asleep for years. Perhaps they had long abandoned certain dreams because life convinced them those dreams were unrealistic. Perhaps they had silenced their creativity, their sensitivity, or their desire for genuine intimacy after experiencing repeated rejection or heartbreak. Yet somehow, being around you made these forgotten parts begin to breathe once more. This is because meaningful connections often act as mirrors. But unlike ordinary mirrors, which merely reflect physical appearances, Profound relationships reveal hidden dimensions of the inner self. Through your conversations, your energy, and your way of relating to them, you reflected qualities they had lost touch with. In your presence, they remembered who they were before fear shaped them. Maybe they found themselves laughing more freely than they had in years. Perhaps they rediscovered passions they had once abandoned. They may have noticed a growing desire to become more honest, more vulnerable, or more emotionally open. At first, these changes likely seemed subtle. Yet gradually, they realized that your presence was influencing them in ways they could neither fully understand nor easily ignore. Such awakenings are rarely comfortable. Although rediscovering lost parts of oneself can be deeply healing, it also requires confronting painful truths. The individual must acknowledge how much of themselves they sacrificed in order to fit into the expectations of others, or protect themselves from emotional pain. They begin to recognize the distance between the life they are living and the life they truly desire. For this person, you unintentionally illuminated that distance. You reminded them not only of who they had been, but also of who they could still become. This realization can evoke powerful emotions. It can inspire hope, but it can also awaken grief for lost years, missed opportunities, and forgotten dreams. Many people avoid such emotions because they are overwhelming. Yet once awakened, these inner truths cannot easily be returned to sleep. What they may never fully tell you is that your influence extended far beyond attraction. You became associated with growth, possibility, and transformation. You represented a doorway back to their authentic self. Every interaction with you strengthened the feeling that life could be deeper, richer, and more meaningful than they had previously allowed themselves to believe. And this is precisely why their connection to you became so profound. You did not simply enter their life. You awakened parts of them they feared had disappeared forever, and in doing so, you changed the way they saw themselves. As these forgotten parts of themselves began to awaken, this person found themselves standing at the threshold of profound inner change. What initially felt exciting soon became deeply unsettling. Many people assume that love naturally draws individuals closer, but deep emotional connections often produce the opposite effect. The closer someone comes to genuine intimacy, the more they are forced to confront the parts of themselves they have spent years avoiding. This is why, despite their feelings for you, they may have suddenly become distant, inconsistent, or difficult to understand. Their withdrawal was not necessarily a sign that their feelings had weakened. In many cases, it was evidence that the connection had become too significant to ignore. You see, every person develops psychological defenses throughout life. These defenses are created to protect against pain, rejection, disappointment, and vulnerability. Some people learn never to depend on others because they have experienced abandonment. Others convince themselves that emotional distance is safer than emotional exposure. Over time, these defenses become deeply ingrained, shaping the way individuals approach relationships without them even realizing it. Then someone enters their life who challenges those defenses. Your presence did exactly that. Being close to you required honesty. It required emotional openness. It required them to acknowledge needs, fears, and desires they had long denied. The protective identity they had carefully constructed no longer seemed sufficient. Around you, they could no longer hide behind old patterns as easily as before. This experience can feel frightening because transformation often resembles loss. To grow, individuals must release outdated beliefs about themselves and the world. They must let go of familiar coping mechanisms, even when those mechanisms are unhealthy. They must risk uncertainty in exchange for authenticity. For this person, such changes may have felt overwhelming. Part of them desperately wanted to move closer, while another part urged retreat. This internal conflict created a painful push and pull dynamic. That they may have found themselves longing for your presence, while simultaneously creating distance. They may have ignored messages, withdrawn emotionally, or become unusually quiet. Not because they stopped caring, but because they were struggling to understand the intensity of what they were experiencing. Deep down, they recognized that loving you could change them permanently, and permanent change is rarely easy. It means facing unresolved wounds, grieving past disappointments, and confronting fears that have remained hidden for years. It means abandoning familiar emotional habits and stepping into unfamiliar territory. Many individuals unconsciously resist this process because what is familiar often feels safer than what is healthy. Even pain can become comfortable when it is known. Genuine connection, however, invites transformation, and transformation always carries uncertainty. Yet despite their attempts to create distance, something remarkable continued to happen. Even when physically absent, your presence remained psychologically alive within them. Thoughts of you returned unexpectedly. Memories resurfaced. Conversations replayed in their mind. They discovered that distance could not erase what had already been awakened. And this realization slowly forced them to confront a truth they had tried to avoid. Running away from you would not free them from the connection, because the deepest part of that connection now existed within themselves. After creating distance, this person likely believed that time and separation would diminish the intensity of what they felt for you. They may have convinced themselves that their emotions were temporary, that the connection was simply a passing experience, or that life would eventually return to what it had been before you entered it. Like many people confronted with overwhelming feelings, they may have hoped that distance would provide clarity and restore emotional balance. Yet something unexpected happened. No matter how much space they created, they could not recreate with others what they had experienced with you. At first, they may not have understood why. On the surface, they continued living their life. They fulfilled responsibilities, maintained relationships, and immersed themselves in daily routines. They may have even attempted to form new connections, believing that meeting someone else would help them move forward. But beneath these efforts, an unsettling comparison quietly persisted. Every new interaction was measured, consciously or unconsciously, against the experience they shared with you. This was not because you were perfect. Human beings are imperfect by nature, and no relationship exists without flaws. What made your connection different was not perfection, but depth. Around you, they experienced something profoundly meaningful, the feeling of being psychologically and emotionally recognized. Such experiences are rare, and once encountered, they can alter a person's understanding of relationships forever. Many relationships remain confined to roles, expectations, and surface-level exchanges. People speak, laugh, and share experiences while still hiding significant portions of themselves. But with you, something deeper emerged. Conversations may have moved beyond ordinary topics into fears, dreams, insecurities, and unspoken longings. Even moments of silence may have carried unusual significance. They felt understood in ways they had not anticipated. As time passed, they gradually realized that what they missed was not merely your presence. They missed who they became in your presence. This realization is often one of the most painful discoveries a person can make. They began to understand that the connection had not simply provided companionship, it had facilitated self-discovery. Through you, they had encountered aspects of themselves that felt more authentic, alive, and emotionally integrated. Without that mirror, life began to feel flatter, more mechanical, and less meaningful. They may have resisted this understanding for a long time. Pride, fear, or unresolved wounds may have encouraged them to deny the significance of the bond. Yet repeated experiences continued to reveal the same truth. Other relationships, while valuable in their own ways, did not evoke the same level of emotional honesty, psychological growth, or inner transformation. Gradually, they came to recognize that you represented something far greater than romantic attraction. You became woven into their personal journey of becoming who they truly are. The connection challenged them, inspired them, and revealed dimensions of themselves they had long forgotten. And once they fully realized this, a profound truth emerged. They had not simply fallen in love with you. They had encountered a relationship that transformed their understanding of themselves. And such encounters are extraordinarily difficult to leave behind. Eventually, there comes a moment when silence becomes heavier than truth. For this person, that moment is approaching. After all the distance, confusion, inner conflict, and reflection, they are beginning to realize that what they feel can no longer remain hidden. Yet their confession is not simply about admitting romantic feelings. It goes much deeper than that. What they truly wish to express is gratitude. Gratitude for the profound impact you have had on their inner world. Many people move through life without ever feeling genuinely understood. They are appreciated for what they do, admired for what they achieve, or accepted for the roles they play, but rarely are they loved for who they truly are beneath those roles. As a result, they often adapt themselves to meet expectations, sacrificing authenticity in exchange for acceptance. Over time, they forget that another way of living is possible. Then someone enters their life and changes everything. You became that person. Without demanding perfection, you offered understanding. Without trying to change them, you created a space where change became possible. Without even realizing it, you gave them permission to reconnect with parts of themselves they had long abandoned. Your presence communicated something they may have rarely experienced. You do not have to earn your worth here. You are enough as you are. Such an experience leaves a lasting impression on the human psyche. It creates a sense of emotional safety that is both healing and transformative. In your presence, they were not merely seen, they were accepted. And for someone who has spent years hiding behind masks, this kind of acceptance can feel life-changing. As they reflect on the journey they have shared with you, they begin to understand that your influence extended far beyond affection or attraction. You became intertwined with their process of growth. Because of you, they started questioning old beliefs about themselves. Because of you, they confronted fears they had previously avoided. Because of you, they discovered strengths, hopes, and desires they had forgotten existed. This realization naturally evokes gratitude. They may look back and recognize that before meeting you, they were surviving rather than truly living. They may see how disconnected they had become from their authentic self, and how your presence gradually guided them back toward it. Even if the journey was painful at times, they now understand that the pain was part of transformation. When they finally confess their feelings, do not be surprised if their words seem larger than love itself. Beneath every expression of affection may lie a deeper message. Thank you for helping me remember who I am. Thank you for remaining in my heart, even when I tried to distance myself. Thank you for seeing possibilities within me that I could not yet see within myself. Because in the deepest sense, they did not choose you solely as a partner. They chose you because your presence became a catalyst for self-discovery, healing, and inner awakening, gifts that few people ever forget, and even fewer ever receive. So, if this person is truly preparing to confess why they chose you, understand that their words may carry far more than simple affection. They may be revealing a truth that has been forming quietly within them for a very long time. A truth born from self-discovery, transformation, and profound emotional recognition. Sometimes, we enter someone's life not merely to be loved, but to awaken something within them that had long been asleep. We become mirrors, reflecting back the parts of themselves they had forgotten, rejected, or hidden from the world, and in return, they leave a permanent mark upon our own journey. Perhaps this is why certain connections feel so powerful. They are not based solely on attraction or circumstance. They emerge because, at a deeper level, two individuals help each other become more whole. Such relationships challenge us, transform us, and invite us to step beyond the limitations of who we once believed ourselves to be. If this person's confession finally arrives, listen not only to their words, but also to the deeper meaning beneath them. You may discover that what they are truly saying is this: you changed my life simply by being yourself. And perhaps that is one of the greatest gifts a human being can ever offer another. Not perfection, not certainty, but the courage to see and be seen. Because when two people truly recognize one another beneath all the masks, something extraordinary becomes possible. Healing, transformation, and a love that touches the deepest parts of the soul. Thank you.